the next thing we want to do is I want to show you how I made this little vector drawing right here. Because that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to have kind of a opacity transition in a couple of layers, and I wanted this swoop in here just to soften the feel of everything. Okay, so how I did that is I'm going to deselect everything, and I'm going to choose my rectangle tool. And I want to draw a rectangle. I have it go just a little bit outside my box here. So I'll just drag these out just a little bit. By the way, you can also nudge this with your arrow keys, up or down if you want to. I'm going to open this up so you can really see what I'm doing here. Okay, so this gave me a new rectangle. It's right here at the top. And let me make that rectangle a color here by clicking on my fill. And let's make it something that we can see over top of everything else. Let's make it this blue here. Okay, so a rectangle is not a drawing in vector. Your first thought might be like, okay, if I want to draw that and put a swoop in here, I'll grab my pen tool. Notice I also have like I can add a point, subtract a point. A lot of these are the same things you see when you draw with a pen tool in Illustrator or in Photoshop. But this is not a path right now. So in order to make it a path, we have to go down and select the layer. Okay. Oops, how about that? Select. I'm going to deselect everything just so we can see we're selecting this layer. And then I'm going to control or right click on it. And then see if I can remember where this is in here. I want to convert it to a Bezier path right here. So what am I doing wrong here? Let's go through here. If I choose my stroke, no, my path, yes. So here, all right, I'm doing a little bit of teaching here too, but notice if I go down here, this shows me the stroke controls down here. This shows me the rectangle path down here. So if I want to just adjust this path, I select this, not the main layer. I right click on it or control click and convert to a Bezier path. So that will, it doesn't seem like it does a lot, but it made it into that path. Okay, so now if I click on the path and I go up here to my pen tool, I can, lo and behold, click and I can add a path to it now. I'm sorry, add a point to it now. And then if I go up here and I convert that, click on it, now I can put handles on that, stretch them out a little bit here. And now with my direct select tool, I can click on this point over here, and using just my arrow keys, I can nudge that down. I'm going to move this one. I can just move it freely like this too. Nudge that down, click on this one. I'm going to hold my shift key down so it doesn't move. And I'm going to kind of, you'll see where I'm matching the path down below here a little bit. This is kind of where I have it. And I can adjust this, stretch these out so it's a little bit smoother. Okay, so now I have a path. This one probably could come down just a little bit too. So now I have my fairly smooth curve on here. I'm going to click off of everything. Notice, by the way, you have to remember, if you're clicking up here and you can't get a hold of that individual path, you have to expand this, the contents, expand the rectangle, and then go into the path to select on that. And then you'll have this control of these individual points. Not stroke, not the fill, not the rectangle, not the shape, but the path is what gives you these controls. Okay, so I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. Okay, so now I have my solid blue. So all that's really left is I want to, let's close up this layer. I want to duplicate this layer, Command D. Now I have another layer, and I'm going to just use my arrow keys to nudge that up. And I'm going to move this one below the other one so it's behind it. So now this shape is behind the shape that's a little bit lower, and I'm going to reduce the opacity on here. And you will see that that blue becomes opaque. Let me turn off. Yeah, let me turn off these layers here, the yellow. There, now you can see that that blue has become opaque in here. So if I click on this one, I can move that up a little bit or down. You can see this is the blue layer on the front. Notice that I have the blue layer just coming up over top right here of the video. Okay, and then I have the layer behind it. I can just go over here and select that layer if I want. And this layer is the opacity layer. So you can see that's the opacity layer here. So these edges, this one needs to come up a little bit, and this one down here needs to come down a little bit, just to make things kind of nice and tidy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this up, go to my contents, go to my rectangle, go to the path again, and then that gives me control over these. So I'm going to pull this one up a little bit, because that's how I like it, and adjust the handle a little bit here, and then I'm going to click once here, hold my shift key down, click here. Now I have both of these selected because they're solid and not open like this. I'm just going to use my arrow keys to nudge that down. If I use my shift arrow keys, it'll go even farther. So I'm going to nudge that down. The only reason I'm really doing this is because I like things to be kind of nice and neat, and I want these boxes to be about the same size at the bottom. So there, that's it. I have the opacity layer here, and this is the separate one that has opacity on it. And I can always go back in and adjust that if I want and say, you know, 60 is not enough, or 60 is too much, I want it to be more opaque. I can do that, and then I can just move it back down here. And the same thing goes for the foreground. If I wanted to change this color, I could make this a totally different color if I wanted to. Okay, so that's how I built these. I am going to delete both of these though, these two layers, because we don't need those anymore. And we have our other two down here that we used. So you can see how I made these. Okay.